Hello and welcome to another video. This is the Armbar Tub and today we are going to be playing Junkyard Simulator, First Car Prologue 2. This is kind of the prelude to the full game of Junkyard Simulator, which is going to be out 2021 sometime. I'll just have a quick run through the description of the game and we'll go from there. And this is as per Steam. You'll go through a few quests, strip engines from cars and then crush them with the small crusher. Yep, there's a monster crusher in the full game. Before you get crushing, you'll need to track down some abandoned vehicles, then transport them to the shop using your tow truck. This is by a developer called Rebellia Games, and the publisher is Playway SA. Now, the video that this will all be for is just for this prologue version, so I wouldn't want to say that the full game will be anything like the way this looks, but you can watch this and then obviously make your own minds up as to whether or not you enjoy this, and maybe the full game later on in the year would be worth getting hold of potentially. So just a quick look through the options menu that we're going to be playing with this game. Just everything as you can see. We're going to go full screen, 1080p. We're going to take censorship off, and I'm going just to leave my frame rate unlimited, 3D resolution 100%, detail 100%, and just whack everything on Epic to make it look as good as it possibly can. You've got the option to go recommended, so what the game believes to be the right thing for you. Everything on Epic will be fine. And there's some various control systems here as well. So you've got your character controls, sort of the little things that they can do. Your vehicle controls, they all pretty much do the same thing. And machinery, so all of the machinery within the Scrapyard, all there listed with independent controls. And actually you've got more than one control option, so you can either go with the up, down, left, right arrows, or you can do the WASD control scheme as well. So fairly simplistic, and yeah, we're going to be going maximum on everything. So the idea of this game is pretty much as it says on the tin. It's a junkyard simulator, so you are responsible for a junkyard, or as we would probably say in this country, in the UK, scrapyard. You have to go and source your vehicles, so you have to go out using your own vehicles like trucks and tow trucks, that sort of thing, just to try and source these clapped out vehicles. You bring them back, you then dismantle them, so you take the engines out, and then you bring them back and sell the parts effectively. That's the crux of it. The way you start the game is you start in an office, and you've just woken up. I think you're probably drunk or something wrong with you, I'm not sure, but yeah, and then you get this phone call of this guy who guides you through what you need to do. So you just start off just being told how to click on a few things, although to be honest with you, I thought the tutorial was a bit of a letdown. It just didn't really cover much of the basics, in that it just kind of moved you around the junkyard clicking on maps and computers. It didn't totally explain what those things are for, so I don't really think it gave you the best insight into the game, and it just felt really sloppy to me personally, the whole tutorial side of it. And I'm not even sure the tutorial ever ended, to be honest. I mean, the game just carried on with these little quests that this person kept issuing to you via this phone. Do this, do that, which we'll go into in a moment, but it just never seemed to end, and certainly at the end of the game, because there is a cut-off point, it just felt you were sort of just doing all of that sort of thing right to the very end more than anything, rather than being able to go off and do whatever you like. So again, just see what you think of it maybe, and wonder if you come to the same conclusion on me as that one. Once you start the process of finding cars and crushing them, it starts off reasonably enjoyable. You know, you get the car, you use a giant magnet to then move them around in this crane, you put them into the crusher. That's where it sort of highlighted quite a few problems for me there. The sound effects, and there are other things where this is a letdown on the sound effects, but the sound effects on the crusher were the first thing that made me think, Jesus Christ, it was like nails down a chalkboard, or a cat being strangled and then put into a bag and then thrown into a river or something. It was absolutely horrendous. And they need to work on their sound effects. It was crap. And the way you operate these machines, you would expect a crane, for example, you'd use WASD, and then obviously you need your other axis on the crane as well. You've got sideways, up, down, and flex in and out basically for the depth of the crane. But then as soon as you put it into the crusher, you just had to tap buttons. So, for example, it flashes up on the screen, press A, and then one part of the crusher moves and then press W, then another part of the crusher moves. So coupled with completely non-challenging ways of using all of the tools, it just seemed so tiresome, especially after the first time. Just really tiresome. And the sound effects that went with it, as I say, they just made it like you didn't even want to do it anymore. In a way, it just felt really, you want to avoid that thing just to get away from those sounds, to be honest. But that's what I thought about that. I didn't particularly like that side of things. Another side of the game is restoration. With the restoration, you go out and you find parts. So you've got these piles of scrap that you find in and around the map, and then you can pick up those parts and restore them. So the restore process is, again, interesting at first. So you have to go through a set process. You have to clean them up. So you get a brush and you have to click basically all over the thing that you're restoring. Again, just no real challenge to it. All you're literally doing is just with your mouse, click. You're not thinking, you're just pointing at something, and you're cleaning it, and then you're respraying it, and you're reconditioning basically. And after that, you can then sell it on. Someone then contacts you and says they want to buy it, and then you sell that for a profit. So you're salvaging this stuff from scrap piles. You're doing certain things up as a restoration and selling them on. Again, that process is, for me, just so boring. They haven't put any challenge into it, and they don't allow you to think for yourself either. It's just telling you on the screen you have to click here to get these things restored, and you just follow the game. It's no thought being put in by yourself, which is a bit of a letdown, to be quite honest. I didn't particularly enjoy that. Another aspect of the game is actually being able to drive around the map in 3 different vehicles. So you've got a tow truck, you've got like a dumper truck as well, and you can use these as storage, so you can put scrap into the back of them and drive them around. And my god, the driving physics and mechanics were hideous, absolutely hideous. There's no weight on these vehicles at all. So if you think you've got a 15-ton truck and you're using WASD to drive, which is fine, it's just going to be fairly straightforward in that sense. You're not going to get the same dynamics as using a steering wheel and pedals, of course, but there's no weight. I mean, the vehicle will just slip and slide all over the place, and there's no stability or anything like that. It's absolutely god-awful, and you may as well just be driving a waterfall around. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. And the control system on the vehicles as well, when you're trying to interact with the vehicle and other things as well on that note. So say you're wanting to enter the vehicle, so you have to press E to interact with most things, to enter vehicles and things like that. And it's so clunky in that you have to be in exactly the right point, and then it flashes up, press E to do this. And then you try and do the same thing again, but the E doesn't come up to allow you to interact with it, despite the fact you're in exactly the same position. And you just have to keep moving left, right, backwards, forwards, left, right, backwards and forwards, until you somehow manage to make the E flash up, and in some cases the B button for your backpack and storage to flash up. And it's just so inconsistent that there's no rule of thumb as to when you can interact with anything, I find. And it's pretty poor in that sense, I would certainly say. They could improve that. I think maybe that's something that they could do. It's just fine-tuning that a little bit. But maybe that's something they could iron out. On the subject of the vehicles, there's this cart as well. It's effectively just a wheelbarrow, so you can use it to move things around the junkyard reasonably quickly, but by foot. And just on the physics note, I put the cart down in the junkyard, and I got into one of the larger engine-driven vehicles, and I drove it at full pelt into the cart, and the truck just bounced off it. So again, the lack of physics. In reality, you would hit an object, and the object you're hitting, including yourself, would react in a reasonably realistic way. The cart moves. The truck would just plough through the cart, but note that the truck bounced off the cart, and the cart remained completely still. So certainly a lot on that physics note that need to be improved on 100%. There are a couple of decent things to it. I would say the visuals are the main one. It's on the Unreal 4 engine, and it's okay looking. the colours are pretty good. All the effects are reasonably nice. They seem to have that okay, and it does give you the real feel of being in a scrapyard. You know, dirty, rusty, worn, all of those things, and there's bits sort of laying around everywhere, just as you'd expect. So I think they've actually got the look of the game quite nice, and actually the scenery. You're sort of in the middle of a forest, which is where you're based, and again, all that is quite nice. And I certainly can't complain about the way it looks. There is something that did make me laugh as well. You've got the arms of your character, so when you run, you see the arms move, and they look pretty bad. And he's got a tattoo on his right arm, I believe it is, and it just looks like a burn or some sort of hideous birthmark. It's weird, and just the way that the arm and the hands are developed, and they're very, very strange indeed. But it's one of those things. You can't have everything visually, but that's what it is. The other thing I don't mind is there's a radio feature, so you can switch your radio on, because otherwise there's no background music or anything like that, apart from the noise of you maybe running or driving or interacting with machinery. You can choose to put the radio on, which is sort of just a inbuilt radio, so it's not real radio. It's songs that are built into the game, but that just adds a little bit of something, you know. You go into a scrapyard or a junkyard, and you might find that someone's got a radio on somewhere in the background. Why not? It just kind of gives that element of authenticity to it, which isn't too bad. It just makes you feel like you may be sort of working on, certainly during the restoration thing, when I was doing the restoring of an engine or something, I put the radio on. It just gives you that kind of feel to it. There are mini games as well. They've got these arcade machines dotted around the place, and you can go on those, and you can do these challenges. So load up your vehicle with these boxes and drive to another location, unload them, gets you a bit of money. Bit cheesy, not very well thought through as a whole, but gives you a bit of money. Considering the idea of the game, certainly within this prologue, is just to earn some money. So you're given task to do these things, which brings you money, and in fact the last task is to get to $27,000, I believe. So either by selling scrap off the back of found scrap or cars, or restoring certain things, going through that restore process I said about. That's the way to earn money. But that is the idea. I don't know if there will be more of an in-depth career mode in the full game, possibly. You know, there might be ways to start hiring people, but I know there is much more to come. The map will be more expansive, which, by the way, is really difficult to navigate around. Just looking at it, really, really fiddly and faffy, and just seems really strange. And it fuzzes as well. You got your map in the bottom right-hand corner, and it like has this radio TV interference, you know, with the black and white crackle sort of thing. God knows why it does that either. That's really weird. It's not a bug or anything. It's just the way it's supposed to be done. It sort of fizzes and fades out, and it's really bloody irritating, because you're trying to look at it and then it just distorts. The image just distorts, and it's really annoying. But it is what it is. Zooming in and out of the map is a bit weird as well. It doesn't seem to work very well. It's not very well refined, I don't believe. And it's not clear as to where to go on the map either. There is a series of road networks. It just needs a bit of brushing up. I don't think it's there yet, certainly in the map. But a good career mode would be good. There are upgrades and things like that. You know, you can upgrade your vehicles and equipment and things like that. So there's potential for improvements in that respect as well. The game itself, I would say, isn't... I know I've been quite critical, and there's a lot of shit in this, I can tell you. And a lot that I found really annoying. And in fact, it actually stopped my keyboard working. I've got new batteries in my keyboard and mouse. It's a USB wireless one, both operating on the same input, both mouse and keyboard. Mouse is working fine, but the keyboard just stopped working from time to time. And this is the only game or only situation this ever happened. So I don't know whether the game is breaking my keyboard. Maybe. I don't know. It has never done that before. It just sort of kicked in and out. So you're driving along 1 minute and then it just stops. And then you have to wait maybe a minute and then it will just start again. I don't know if that's something with the game, but I've certainly not experienced it before. But yeah, despite the criticisms, it's not a bad concept. It could work with a lot of improvement. I didn't dislike it, but I certainly didn't get a huge amount of enjoyment. Certainly after doing things once, running the process of crashing the car once. After that, it was just the same thing over and over again. And you may as well just be repeating the first thing you did over and over again, rather than a new thing at another occasion. It's the same thing. And the restore thing, you might be restoring an engine, or you might be restoring a cabinet, you know. But the process is the same. There's no real difference. You're picking up objects and you're clicking all over the object to restore it. So very little in that respect. But it's just not sort of unique enough for me, and it doesn't keep you on your toes. There's no challenge to it. You can't fall off the bridge, so to speak. You're very much kept on the straight and narrow, and you can't go wrong with it. There's no room for failure. And it is nice to fail games sometimes, because it does give that element of challenge, and there is none of that on here. I probably won't be coming back to it, it must be said. But it is free. So what have you got to lose? On Steam at the moment, it's free. Have a go. You might completely disagree with me. You also may agree with me and find it quite frustrating, bar a couple of positive points. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care.